Hi all. Doing a quick book update here with all the readathons. It's only Friday night. I usually try to do these on Saturday or Sunday, but I promise you, I have plenty to talk about. It's been a really productive week. Um, as if you see my other videos, you know I'm doing like three. Just a second, let me adjust this camera. I'm doing like three readathons right now because I'm mildly book obsessed. Um, Priority being the Monsterathon because that's the first one I signed up for. That's only 10 books, and that's not hard for me to do in a month. The Hogwarts House Battle is 15 books, which my best month is 17, so I'm pretty sure I can get there. After this week, I have a really good shot of getting those two done. The TBR Readathon is a bingo card, so as long as I get a couple of bingos, I'll be happy. I don't see myself reading all 24 books. I just don't think I'm going to get there in this month because like this next week is homecoming, and I'm the color guard coach for the marching band, so that means Friday is going to be parade and game, and Saturday morning I have a choral clinic I have to play for. So this week will be maybe a little bit less productive as far as reading goes. But the ironic thing is, my goal on Goodreads for the year was 100 books, and I'm within like 13, 12 or 13 of finishing that already. And it's only September, so I'm going to be good there too. So I'm just going to run real quick through the books I read and the order I read them in. Like a lot of people, I stayed up until midnight. I started reading after midnight on September 1st. This is the very first thing I read, called Monstrous. It was amazing. I don't usually read, I'm not going to lie, I don't usually read graphic novels. But again, the Monsterathon called for, the Unsightly prompt called for a book that was a graphic novel. My library had this one, but the Hogwarts House Battle called for, and I'll find it here, just give me a minute, a genre I wouldn't normally read, graphic novel. And the TBR Readathon, again, graphic novel. But it was supposed to be a graphic novel involving monsters. She is linked to this monster. She doesn't understand why. She's a part of a race called the Arcanic, and there's a series of 6 books. This is the first one, and the thing I loved about this is it jumped in kind of into the middle of the history. There was a war ending and another one about to start, or the war was about to flare up again, or something, and she's kind of caught in the middle of all of this and doesn't understand what's happening to her. Others around her kind of do. There are things in her family's past that she wasn't told about, and that's going to come out in the next 6 books. But the artwork itself is just, I mean, these are some lush, gorgeous pages. I don't normally go out of my way to choose graphic novels or anything like that, but I will be finishing this entire series. My library has all 6 books. When I take back the stack I have now, I will be pursuing the rest of the series. It was just really that well written. By Marjorie Liu, the illustrations by Sana Takeda. The illustrations are gorgeous. But the rest of the series follows this main character in her pursuit of figuring out exactly who she is. Since we started with a holiday weekend, I had lots of reading time on my hands. So I finished 2 books in a day, which is kind of insane, I know. But Monsters being one of them and Wilder Girls being the other. This one came to me highly recommended from my daughter, who is a booktuber, Margaret Adele. If you haven't followed her, shame on you. She actually let me borrow her art now that the book has been officially published. But this is one I would buy and have on my own shelves. At first, I thought it was going to be. I'm terrible because I'm a lifelong theater nerd, so I'm constantly looking for the plot twist. I really was convinced it was going to end up being like another Lord of the Flies kind of thing, where these girls had been abandoned as a part of an experiment, like in the book The Lord of the Flies. Not exactly, but kind of. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But a really good read. I was impressed. This was under the prompt beasts for the Monsterathon. Animal-like or plant-like characteristics definitely qualifies here. On the Hogwarts House Battle, it was recommended by a friend. My daughter, but I'll count her as a friend. I'm allowed. And then again, the TBR Readathon bingo form had a recommendation by a friend. This next one exposed me to a whole side of YouTube, booktube, I should specifically say, that I'd never known before. If you don't know anything about booktubers, they will show you anything and everything. They will show you, if they go to a bookstore, they will do a haul video. They will show you all of the books they just bought. If they decide to get rid of a bunch of them, they will do an unhaul video. They'll show you all the books they're getting rid of. Holly Hart's books, I will put her link down below. She is a hoot. Discovered her really recently, but her videos are so much fun to watch. She did a single chapter read unhaul, meaning there were a bunch of books she hadn't read on her shelves, and she took them down and read like a chapter. If the chapter was really short, she maybe read two and decided based on that whether or not to keep the book. Sacrifice from the Monsterathon called for you to go find someone's unhaul video and pick a book. So basically, this prompt said, go find a book somebody else doesn't want to read and choose to read it for the readathon. So yeah, that in and of itself is scary. It's like somebody else doesn't like this book and is getting rid of it, but you want me to read it. Okay, fine. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But under the Hogwarts House Battle, a new to me author, which I've never heard of Sarah Holland before. And then on the TBR Readathon was an author I haven't read again. So there's that. Interestingly enough, being called upon to read a book that another author had ditched, or another reader had ditched, was scary. I chose Everless by Sarah Holland. And I totally get why after only a chapter or two, Holly, unhold this. I completely get it because it does start slow. It starts really slow. And you're like going, oh my gosh, like I know I'm allowed to DNF, but I don't want to. I kind of want to gut it out. And I'm so glad I stuck with it. So Holly, you weren't wrong. It does start off really, really slow, but it gets better as it goes on. And it was definitely worth sticking with for the read. I know there's at least one more book left. It's either a duology or a trilogy. So I will definitely be picking up the second one just to see. By far, the favorite thing I read, absolute favorite thing I read, and actually I think I read this before Everless. I picked up this book because literally the Monsterathon called for me to pick a book for the conspiracies prompt that dealt with aliens or robots. The Hogwarts House Battle, this did not actually fit into the Hogwarts House Battle, so it's not on that one at all. But then on the TBR Readathon bingo form, book with a favorite color. If I have to pick a single favorite color, I always tell people it's red. I actually have a favorite color combination. It's red and black. So this book, by far the favorite book I've read so far this month. Absolutely, hands down, the best thing I've read ever. Called The Chosen by Taryn, and I'm probably going to slaughter his last name, Matheru. He also wrote a series that was called the Summoner series. This is the first, I think, of three, or at least two. I know there's at least one more book because this one leaves you needing more. The main character, Cade, ends up finding himself in a school for troubled boys. Cade Carter is his name. He finds himself in a school for troubled boys, almost a military prison-like school. Finds himself having to deal with what is really an awful personal situation. The school is terrible. It's very it's run very punitively. Everything is punished. Nothing is ever rewarded. But all of a sudden finds himself in this weird dimension. Literally, the book opens with him standing on a shelf, this very tiny little ledge in a valley in a weird world, with this monster snarling and trying to get a hold of him. If he does so much as sit down and let his legs dangle, he's going to be within reach of the monster. It's literally how the book starts. This kid's life is in danger on some weird alien planet that he knows nothing about. Hi. Welcome to the story. The thing I loved about it is the author uses just enough flashbacks to give you an idea of what school was like, which is necessary because some of those schoolmates end up with him in this new dimension. They keep calling him a contender. This little robot drone thing keeps following him with a countdown to the number of hours or days left before they have to face some sort of contest. And they're pretty sure it's these ugly monsters they all ran into and had to defeat to get safe. So, yeah, there's deities involved and aliens involved and beings that sort of elevated to become something more than just humanoid. But they find out that they are literally fighting for the fate of the planet. If they lose, the planet will be destroyed. Because this race of deity-like creatures have sort of decided to toy with their creations. They're supposedly the ones that made all of the other populations on all of the other planets and dimensions in the world. And they've decided to make the inhabitants of their planets fight it out with each other to gain dominance, and you have to stay at the top of the leaderboard, because if you fall to the bottom of the leaderboard, your home planet is destroyed. So you're responsible for saving the lives of everybody on your planet. Matthew pulls no punches. Don't go in assuming anybody is safe. Don't go in assuming anybody is going to make it all the way to the end of the book, because there are a lot of surprises. But the end of the book really solves nothing. Nothing has been resolved. So I'm going to want to read it again, but I absolutely fell in love with this book. It technically is classified YA. It doesn't read like YA at all. It's phenomenal. I don't normally pursue, like, I read sci-fi, but I tend to avoid like super outer spacey sci-fi just because this was amazing. Such a good read. I will be reading more by him. Absolutely loved everything I had. The next two are Kindle books because I can't give up my Kindle ever. I will also show you this real quick. Unnatural Creatures. The Monsterathon calls for um, each of the teams to read a specific short story for their team, and then you can read the other team stories if you want to too, which I did. I read all three of them, and that again, I think I did like the very first night because they're short stories. They weren't that long to read. Um, the the haunts prompt for the Monsterathon called for you to read a book that had to do with the dead or the undead, so vampires, ghosts, zombies, that kind of thing. Influential Magic. Loved it. Deanna Chase. The main character is a fae. Her name is Willow. Her brother has died, and she's just returned back from being at home for a time after he passed away, spending time with his best friend, helping her parents out. But she comes back to her bakery shop. One of the things I loved about it is she's very obviously fae. Like, she doesn't try to hide her wings. They talk about her clothing being modified to fit her wings, and there's one time she has to put on a shirt that's not cut out for fairy wings, and it's uncomfortable for her. Um, the only thing that kept this one from being a 5-star for me is I love a good plot twist, but I do think it's possible to twist a plot too many times. And there was a twist in this one that I didn't really feel was necessary to deliver the emotional punch that the author was going for. And I won't tell you which ones because I want you to read it for yourself, but there was just one twist too many that left me kind of going, did you really have to go there? Otherwise, it probably would have been a 5-star for me because it was just that good of a read. It was just that engaging. There is at least one more book from this one. But yeah, Deanna Chase. I know there's at least the sequel is called Irresistible Magic, and I think there might be one more beyond that. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one. Like I said, it would have been a 5-star had it not been for the fact that there was just that one extra plot twist. It really, I will give it away and say that there's a girl in this extra plot twist that she talks about. I thought of her like a sister, but you never hear her mentioned of before in the book until she comes up in the plot twist moment, and you're like, really, if you were as close as sisters, don't you think you would have mentioned her in your life story before now? Um, this one called, and this is just a good old fashioned palate cleanser, steamy romance. This actually, I think this one only maybe fit on the TBR readathon. Yeah, this one only fit on the TV. No, I lied. It also fit on the Hogwarts animal on the cover. But it fits on the TBR because of all the books on my to be read. I think it was the shortest or one of the shortest books on my TBR. Um, all within a page or two of each other. It's called Coven by Rebecca Main, part of the Soulmark series. Essentially, there is a young lady that doesn't know she's a witch that moves with her grandmother back to her grandmother's hometown. Um, Goes for a run in the woods and runs into a pack of werewolves. Like, literally watches them transform and is freaked out. Turns out that the alpha of that pack and she share a birthmark that is actually what's called a soul mark. And all he has to do is touch it, and this process of bonding them to one another has begun. She's not real sure she's a fan because they don't know each other at all. They're total strangers. But he's determined that the pack will be weaker. It will destroy him because now that they've found each other, it's unavoidable. So it was good. It was. I hate to say this, but I love a good romance novel. I think it's a great palate cleanser. I hate to say that because it's not that I don't think they're really well written, and this one was amazingly well written. Um, but you can only read really heavy books like The Chosen and Wilder Girls for so long before you need something that's just a yay, the boy gets the girl. And that's kind of where this one fell for me. I would definitely go on and read more in the Soulmark series. There's other books. The main character, the alpha of the wolf pack in this book, his brother is the subject and the focus of the second book, sort of. His brother, Rit, becomes more of a big player in the second part of the story. So there's that. But it was definitely a fun read. It was definitely something I'm glad I got my hands on and read. Um, I seem to be getting offers for a lot of those right now on places like Goodreads and things like that. So um, I will be starting, um, shoot, London Macabre. This is one I had DNF'd before, not because I didn't want to read it, but because I had some reviews that I had committed to getting done by a deadline and needed to take a step back to get those done by the deadline. So under the Monster-a-thon, this is London Macabre will be the Chimera, which can fall under multiple categories, multiple genres. Under the Hogwarts House Battle, it's something I've previously DNF'd, and then I think it's the same thing on the TBR Readathon. There's a previously DNF'd category. So I'm going to restart that one and finish that tomorrow. I've currently also got 2 other reads that are in process, only because I always have 2 or 3 books laying around, just because. This one on the Monster-a-thon fulfills the, I don't want to get the prompt on, the Real Monsters prompt, true crime stories. Anne Rule actually worked with and knew Ted Bundy. So this is literally her story of what it was like to work with him, her encounters with him, and then when he ended up being arrested, he called her because he knew she'd been a police officer. They met working as volunteers at a crisis hotline, and then she went on to become a journalist and a writer and a nonfiction writer. And he knew that, so when he got arrested, he called her and wanted to sort of exclusively give his story to his friend. So I'm reading this one again. It's one of those books you got to kind of read in bite-sized chunks because it's Ted Bundy's story. Not exactly happy, uplifting reading. On the Monster-a-thon, like I said, this is the Real Monsters on the Hogwarts House Battle. This falls under. Oh, I'm cheating. Another Generation. There's a prompt that calls for you to read a book from another generation. He's older than me. I was a child when all this stuff went down, so I'm stretching it maybe a little bit there. And the author comes from a different background than I do. She worked in law enforcement and knew Ted Bundy. I've never worked for law enforcement and never known a serial killer, so pretty sure that qualifies. So, like I said, it's a work in progress. I'm reading slowly but surely, bite-sized chunks. One of the prompts in the Hogwarts House Battle calls for you to read a book only at night, only after dark. So, this is also for the Monster-a-thon. This is my What Big Eyes. This is a really large book. I think it had to be over 600 pages, and this is. So I'm slowly but surely a few pages a night working my way through Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. It doesn't take me long to get through a few. But that'll be the only reads at night. And it'll take me probably the whole month to get through it, or a big chunk of it, simply because I am only reading it at night. And on the TBR Readathon, it's the biggest book on my TBR right now. So these 2 are currently works in progress. I'll be restarting London Macabre by Stephen Seville tomorrow as well. So that'll be what I read to get into my weekend. But right now, so far, I am 6 books down. And all but one of those, I think on the Monster-a-thon, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm halfway through the Monster-a-thon. Coven wasn't a part of that one, so that's the only one that didn't count there. And 1, 2, 3, 4 on the Hogwarts House Battle. No, 5 on the Hogwarts House Battle as well. So the Coven really only counted on the TBR Readathon, but it was a quick read, and I got a bingo box marked up. So that's why I went that route today. So yeah, that's where we are on the Readathons. The 3 that I'm doing, I've made some really nice progress. Most of the stack at Monster Library will go back tomorrow. And I still have a team to check out from the Hogwarts House Battle, so I may see if that one's there. Otherwise, have a great weekend.